Hello and welcome to the final episode of Insurance Tomorrow for 2025, brought to you by Allianz Insurance. I'm Vanessa. Now, throughout this year, we've explored some of the most important global trends that are shaping the future of the insurance industry, from the top business risks all the way through to insights from this year's BIBA conference. Now, in today's episode, we're taking a look back at the highlights, and we'll be revisiting discussions on cyber risks, the impacts of climate change for businesses, and also the evolution of fraud in the digital age, and so much more. Now, these conversations have provided invaluable insights into just how the industry is evolving and how businesses and brokers can prepare for the challenges ahead. And as always, if you want to listen to the full episodes from the past year and many more, it's very easy. You can find us on your favourite podcast app. Now, make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any future episodes. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on this year's content. Your feedback helps us to keep the conversation meaningful and plays a key role in helping us to shape future episodes. So please don't forget to leave us a review and also tell us what you've enjoyed most, which discussions resonated with you, and actually what sparked any new ideas for you. I just want to say a massive thank you again for joining us this year. We look forward to bringing you more insightful content in the coming year. So let's dive in. Okay, let's start by going all the way back to May, when we discussed one of the most pivotal events of the year, the 2025 BIBA conference with the theme, A New Era. Now, looking ahead to the conference, I welcomed Hannah Cam, who's Allianz's Chief Risk Officer, and I asked her how she interpreted the New Era theme. And she spoke about major changes in the insurance industry, the impact of digitization, and also how artificial intelligence could shape the future.
I think for me, it just means there is a shift. There is a bit of a reset or a step change. And I do think there is a fundamental shift in the insurance industry coming up. I think we're going into a kind of era of digitization and ease of access of information. We see that every day when we're on our phones looking at things. So I do think, the changing buying habits of customers, how they interact with the broking community, how they interact with insurers, how they use information, how do we make that, the ease of access for them. I think that's definitely a way that will be changing. And I think I'm quite exciting period for the industry to see, how we, take on those challenges.
Now, Hannah, there are lots of new risks in the world. And as we discussed in a previous episode, new technologies were in the top 5 of the UK risk barometer. So with that in mind, do you think that artificial intelligence has the power to transform the industry long term?
Yeah, I mean, it revolutionized our own lives. You think about how AI, ChatGPT, Copilot is doing to our own personal lives. It absolutely will change the way our kind of industry or financial services will work. And the way I think that will change is because, again, it's about data. Now we have tools that, information that touch of a finger, touch of a button very quickly. You can ask them, oh, what do I do? What do I have? And that will come back. However, that is just still information and data. It hasn't turned into insights and into kind of expert advice kind of from there. So I think, what for us, the challenge for us as an industry, and also I think for the broking community is, how do we use these emerging new digital tools with the information overload in some ways? How do we utilize those to actually come up with the insights, the thinking, the thought leadership to our clients, and how to help them kind of navigate the landscape in terms of, how to mitigate risks, not just kind of limiting or reducing the financial impact, that it would have on if those risks come out. So I think, again, it's almost an extra tool in the armory for us to work with our clients and make it a frictionless kind of approach.
Now, also joining us in that episode was Graham Trudgill, who's Chief Executive of BIBA. And I asked him to look 25 years into the future and identify one fundamental shift in the risk landscape that brokers need to start incorporating into their advisory to remain relevant. And he highlighted one wild card risk which could significantly impact the industry, the evolution of vehicle usage and transport mobility.
I think something they should consider long term is transport and mobility, because we're going to go through a fundamental change in vehicles. And we already have partly automated vehicles. So you've got the lane assist and autonomous emergency braking if you get too close to someone. But go to America, they've already got some driverless taxis that can take you from the airport to the hotel. So we're going to see a complete transformation in transport. So in 25 years, will we be even driving cars? How will motor insurance products work? Because the liability currently sits with the user of the vehicle. 90% of motor accidents are caused by the user of the vehicle. But if there is no user of the vehicle, then that perhaps falls on the manufacturer of the vehicle. So we're going to see a fundamental change in motor insurance, in transportation, I would say within the next 25 years.
Now, with 2026 shaping up to be a defining year for autonomous vehicles in the UK and new legislation on the way, we'll undoubtedly continue to hear more on this topic. Of course, one of the risks that remains a constant and evolving threat for businesses in 2025 is cyber. Now, this is a topic that's becoming more important than ever. And with the world becoming increasingly more digital, it's crucial to understand how small businesses can protect themselves. Well, earlier this year, I was also joined by Delvin Tillett, head of cyber at Allianz UK, who shared his expertise on the dynamic nature of cyber threats and offered practical tips to help businesses navigate this changing landscape and stay secure.
I think things are changing rapidly. I think one thing with cyber is that it's constantly moving. There's lots of different threat actors out there at the moment, and they're all using different techniques, and those techniques develop. I think there's people like Lockbit who were taken down by law enforcement, but then sometimes, it's like slaying the Hydra, the head bumps up again somewhere else. So it's constantly evolving, whether it's for, hacktivist reasons, for financial gain. It's a very kind of moving landscape all the time, and that's why it's really important for companies to understand their position on cyber and have a cyber strategy so that they're readily prepared to act in the event that they're targeted.
I was also joined by Jake Moore, who's Global Cybersecurity Advisor at ESET. And Jake looked ahead and shared his insights on how businesses can stay resilient.
We are seeing a time that we've never experienced before. We always expected that criminals would get more sophisticated. We've been listening to that theory for many years. But the fact is now they've got so many tools at their disposal. They've got scale at their disposal with the likes of huge amounts of data, algorithms incorporated with AI to process that data. They're able to run so far away. If we want to use the cat and mouse analogy, they are the mouse that has run so far, and we are left as the cat further away than we've ever been before. So we can't just sit still. We've got to continue to run after that mouse and protect where we can, and to spend more money. Unfortunately, many people won't want to hear that, but we need to keep putting money into those resources to protect and mitigate, because it's inevitable that criminals will continue to relentlessly target us.
Well, which is certainly a scary prospect, isn't it, as we head into 2026? Now, last year saw another surge in extreme weather and climate records, underscoring the impact of environmental changes on the risk landscape for businesses, big and small. I spoke to Bethany Thomas, Head of Sustainability at Allianz UK, who highlighted the importance of resilience, sustainability, integration, and the role of data in modelling risks.
We're seeing storms and floods and other weather impacts being much more significant than we've seen previously. In some senses, the risk impact is changing, but the risk cause itself isn't. We're seeing a lot of similarity, but we're just seeing a much bigger impact of those risks. And also risks coming from maybe unexpected places. There's also a really important role for data to play in this, in terms of understanding and even modelling some of those risks as well. Having access to tools and systems and abilities to look at and model what's going to be the implication of something like that is really important. And I think brokers bring an incredible expertise to that process as well. And then finally, I think brokers all have a responsibility to be assessing their own impact and what they can do as a business as well. And if a broker's an independent broker, then Allianz have a fantastic resource that they can use. Our Allianz Net Zero Accelerator helps small independent brokers to be able to map their own footprint and understand their own impact as well.
Also joining us on that episode was Tim Maiden, the founder of Green Small Business. And he explored the challenges that businesses face due to climate change, particularly the widespread disruption caused by natural catastrophes like flooding and the broader implications for the business community.
I live up in the northwest of England. We've experienced very significant flooding events, particularly back in the mid-2010s. And lots of businesses were directly affected by those floods. But a far greater number of businesses were actually disrupted by the disruption that took place to infrastructure that those businesses rely on, whether that's electricity supply or road and rail infrastructure. That led to a much wider disruption than just those that were physically flooded themselves.
Now, at the start of the year, we explored the critical issues of underinsurance, a persistent challenge in the insurance industry, putting many businesses at risk. Now, in this eye-opening episode, I spoke to Alex Tenidis, who's Director of Digital Trading and Legal at Allianz UK, to understand how the issue impacts businesses across various industries, particularly SMEs.
Underinsurance is not a new topic. It's been around since the advent of insurance in and of itself, but it does become heightened during times of economic volatility, uncertainty, and change. And I think one of the key drivers is really a gap between expectation and reality. So 88% of SMEs, nearly 9 out of 10, think they have their insurance needs covered. So from their perspective, there is no underinsurance challenge. On the other hand, we look at data that shows us that 8 out of 10 properties in the UK are actually underinsured. The types of businesses that have this challenge range across all industries. It's not just targeted into one. It really is pervasive, as Alistair said. And what we see is that 40% of businesses, for example, will use the market value of their premises as opposed to the true rebuild cost, which can be much higher than the market value itself, which shows that, again, across all industries, there are many businesses that are really facing into that challenge. I have to say also that underinsurance tends to be more pervasive for smaller businesses, for SMEs, where they might not have access to the same resources to address that and may not, in some cases, be using a trusted insurance broker partner that can really help to address the challenges of underinsurance.
Alex was also joined by Alistair Blundell, who's head of general insurance at BIBA, the British Insurance Brokers Association, to delve into the pressing issue of underinsurance and establish the impacts if a business is underinsured.
There's multiple pressures, as we know, Vanessa, and just linking one back to underinsurance is that we're coming out of a period of high inflation. Inflation is settling down, it's a little bit sticky, but if you look over the period since COVID, it's been very significant. So that's been driving costs, wage rolls, and just looking at some reasons around underinsurance, we've got some stats saying the cost of materials alone, so that's to fix a building, gone up by 36% since 2020, and labour costs up 7% just the last year. So those are some of the drivers that explain higher rates of underinsurance. But coming back to why SMEs have pressures, of course, we've got higher national insurance, which is biting at the moment. The competition for skilled people is significant, and that comes at a price. So there's multiple pressures on them, but they remain the backbone of the economy. So we need a healthy SME sector. If the Chancellor's vision of growth is to become the new imperative, then they have to be healthy and they need to be protected from an insurance standpoint.
Moving on to a topic that's been affecting businesses for many years, the shortage of skilled workers. Now, it's a challenge that's so significant that it ranks in the top 10 of the Allianz UK Risk Barometer for small and medium-sized enterprises. In this episode, we were joined by Nikki Johnson, Head of Workforce Change and Productivity at Allianz UK, who shared her insights on the wide-ranging impacts of the skills shortage, like operational risks and compliance.
The other thing you'll see is it impacts a wide range of risks for businesses generally, but particular kind of SMEs. So you're looking at operational risks. If you haven't got the staff to do the work, are you running more risks of error, product defects, service demand failures? If you're not able to source skills in new and high demand areas, can you expand and really kind of, take on the competition in emerging areas? So, there might be other risks as well around sort of compliance with industry standards and sort of, compliance requirements, and increasingly specialist skills like data skills and data protection, health and safety, cyber skills that even SMEs need access to. Those skills are in demand, and actually it can hold you back as a company if you don't have easy access to those skills. There are a number of sort of direct impacts. There are also a number of indirect impacts. So, for example, the shortage in sectors we've talked about, where we, for example, put care packages in place for people who are seriously injured, the lack of health and care resources in that sector means that those packages are harder to find, that they're more expensive. Equally, things like shortages in construction and plumbing will lead to both immediate indirect costs of increased repair costs, but also longer term issues. So, for example, the lack of plumbers is resulting in push fit piping rather than copper piping, which results in more escape of water claims over time. So there are lots of implications across the kind of insurance spectrum.
Shazia Ijaz, Director of Research at the Recruitment and Employment Confederation, also joined us for this episode. She outlined how businesses can address this pressing issue, encouraging them to view investment in skills as crucial to growth rather than simply a business cost.
The government's announced its industrial strategy recently, and they've got priority sectors within that. And for those priority sectors, one of the things that they've asked those industries to do is to come up with workforce plans. That's crucial, so that actually we know that if we want to invest in a certain bit of the economy, potentially something like AI, digital skills, well, we need to make sure that there are people coming into the workforce that are skilled up, that can grow and that can fuel those industries. But it's really important then that, to mirror that individual organizations think about what it is that they need. Where is if you're a legal firm, for example, I should be talking about an insurance firm, but if you're an organization, you need to be thinking 5 years down the line, where is my business going? What are the sorts of skills that I need? And you've got to start planning early. And that investment in skills needs to be considered as exactly that. It's an investment rather than a business cost, because it's a false economy to try and grow your business, but not be thinking about the skills that you need. And that means upskilling your existing workforce, but it does mean also thinking about how you're going to acquire those skills into your business.
Earlier this year, Allianz released its annual risk barometer, identifying the most important corporate concerns for the year ahead, from cyber incidents, new technologies and climate change, to business interruption and changes in legislation and regulation. And we explored the top 10 business risks in 2025 for the UK and globally, looking at how they're connected, their impacts, and how brokers can help their clients build resilience. Well, I spoke to Luke Baker, who's head of large core and specialty at Allianz Commercial, about the risk barometer and the top risks impacting businesses around the world.
Across both smaller companies, mid-sized companies and the larger corporates, the global issues, if you like, actually cyber comes out first across all those different segments. There is a degree of movement in the top 5, call it. So particularly relevant for smaller companies came out, change in legislation and regulation is the second highest concern. That raised 28% from a ranking perspective against 35% for cyber. And that's closer between first and second than both the mid-corp enterprises and the large corp global enterprises ranked as well. So I think that legislative regulatory change is a concern for smaller companies, and business interruption as well ranks higher for smaller companies than for other areas as well. So I think BI and legislative changes are the two key ones I draw out.
Dr. Matthew Connell, Director of Policy and Public Affairs at the Chartered Insurance Institute, then looked at how the top business risks are interlinked and also what brokers need to know.
It's a classic example of how traditional view of a broker as somebody who's just on a transactional level, just selling insurance, just recommending insurance cover, that model has really gone away, and brokers now have to be holistic risk advisors. I know there's one big broking firm that recently turned its process on its head. So instead of going to clients and talking about the renewal of their existing insurance first, and then at the end of the meeting talking about non-insurable risks, how you mitigate risks in other ways, through business processes or through other forms of risk mitigation. They turned that on its head and said, okay, let's look first at the risks you can't insure and talk about how you're dealing with those and what your risk approach is, what your strategy is, how that fits in with your business model. And then right at the end of the meeting saying, out of all this risk approach, we've decided that X% of it can be resolved through insurance, and we're going to resolve that in this way. And some of that, whether we resolve in insurance, will resolve simply by renewing the insurance that you've already got. So looking at the whole risk and then only looking at renewing what's there at the end rather than doing the renewal process at the beginning.
And finally, this year, we tackled a topic which continues to evolve and challenge our industry: fraud. Now, these sophisticated schemes are impacting businesses, consumers, and the insurance sector as a whole. Matt Crabtree, Head of Financial Crime Intelligence and Investigation Strategy at Allianz UK, joined us to unpack emerging fraud trends, effective prevention strategies, and the evolving role that brokers play.
Yeah, I think the difficulty we've got is no two frauds are the same. We just heard from Craig there around some of the artificial intelligence, and we're seeing that in our claims fraud as well, with voice impersonations taking place, with digital images coming into us of invoices that are fraudulently produced. The wider impacts on consumers, I talked earlier regarding inducing accidents, so that's where people are slamming on. So we're seeing genuine customers being caught up and on some occasions injured in these accidents that are being deliberately caused. We have also seen ghost broking, the fake insurance policies. I mean, fundamentally, these are high-risk drivers and high-risk cars that are getting put on the road by illegal intermediaries and going undetected by ANPR cameras. We've unfortunately seen a few occasions where these vehicles are causing very serious accidents to genuine members of the public. So just encourage our brokers to really work at understanding who the client is, validating who the client is, validating the payment sources so we can be comfortable that that is a genuine customer putting on a genuine policy with us.
Craig Kennedy, partner and head of cyber consulting at national law firm HF, shared his expertise on the most prevalent types of fraud affecting businesses and consumers, the unique vulnerabilities that they might face, and how collaboration between organisations is crucial when it comes to combating these threats.
The legal and regulatory landscape is changing. So, things like the Digital and Operational Resilience Act, for example, now makes appropriate levels of resilience mandatory, and in circumstances where it's not now enough to have a policy, you have to have a policy that works, you can prove works, and is going to be effective at the point businesses encounter disruption. So I think the threats will continue to amplify, and I think the real work that we'll see in the market is businesses trying to sort of really do a lot of work to get themselves up to where they need to be from a resilience perspective to make sure that they're as secure as they can be.
And with that, we'll bring this episode reflecting on 2025 to a close. We'll be back, though, in 2026, so please subscribe to the series through your podcast app so you get all of the latest episodes. And if you missed any episodes this year, well, you can go back and download them or watch them in full on our YouTube channel, details on the show page. We'd also love to hear from you. Tell us what you enjoyed about the podcast, the topics that resonated with you, and any moments that made you stop and think. Your feedback really means a lot to us, and it really helps us to create content that matters to you. I want to say a massive thank you to our guests who've taken part in our discussions this year, and also to you for joining us. Until next time, see you soon.